In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Okay, so welcome to this week's Westerer is Besterer podcast. And there's no tongue-in-cheek when I say that this week. It's getting harder and harder to believe, but it is, Westerer is Besterer. I think I'm right on that. Am I right on that, March? Martin's joining me once again this week. Am I right on that?
Yes, you are right. The west of Ireland is the best, as they say.
It's getting harder and harder to believe, isn't it? It's been a tough all week to be a Scarlet supporter this week.
Yeah, I mean, I saw somewhere like a really old quote from Gareth Jenkins saying that Swansea v Connacht was the yard measuring stick for Welsh rugby. And you're looking at it now and going, "Woo,
yeah,
that doesn't look so true at the moment."
No, but then I was doing the fixtures for the rest of the season earlier today, and it's a long old season. It is a long old season. I think it's 18 games is the full season. So
that's the league.
Yeah, so we've done round 6. So we've still got a fair old distance to go, and I think we've just got to kind of keep faith with, we've got decent players here, we've got decent structure around them, we've got decent coaching team. It's gonna click. It's gonna click. But before we go into the game from last Friday seems so long ago. It really does just seem months ago now. But yeah, the game was last Friday. So as always, let's kick off and have a look at some of the 3-word reactions after the game.
Do we have to?
I said I would. There's not a lot of positivity on there, I'll be honest. It's so Steve says it's not good enough. James is saying some things never change. John makes the point that lineouts are non-existent. I wouldn't say they're non-existent. I'd say there were loads of them. I'd just say we balls them all up. I'd say that was the problem.
I'd say it was good ball for Connacht, didn't it?
Yeah, it was. And we said last week how well the lineouts were going. With Ken there, everything was going well. They were improving. Scrum was improving. Well, I think the scrum did improve. But yeah, it's anyway. Lineouts non-existent. David, we need new management. So Paul says deficient, disappointing, indisciplined. I think Paul's got the hang of the 3-word thing there. I think Paul's nailed it there. Yeah, we've got that. And then just to balance out Paul really nailing the 3 words, different Steve says, it's embarrassing, bring back Robin McBride from Leinster to help out. I don't think Steve there has really grasped the 3-word element of 3-word reactions. So, yeah.
Bring McBride in.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, because, yeah. Judith, we were shocking, and I'm not sure if Catherine is this is just a general question for the day or if it is meant for us. So Catherine says, "What's going on?" You can take that one of two ways. She might have just had a couple of beers or something and just be sat there going like, "Oh man, what's going on?" Or it is a case of, "Come on, boys, sort it out. What's going on?" So yeah, all quite negative, really.
Doom and gloom.
Yeah, but we make a point of doing the 3-word reactions literally straight after the final whistle. And that's the point of it. It's a reaction. And most of those 3-word reactions are in kind of within an hour or two. Do you know what I mean? They are quite, while it's fresh in the memory. And
it's the instant emotions.
Yeah. And, rugby's an emotional game. That's why we love it, isn't it? It's that you look at the Dragons at the minute and you think they're sitting top of the table. They've had 2 wins and, they did play well on Sunday, but you'd think that they were ready to take on Europe and what have you. And reality is actually...
But you love seeing a team like that getting a good result, though. It doesn't matter what country they're from. You see someone who is generally lower down, and they perk up as they tend to once or twice a season. You just love seeing it. You can feel the atmosphere in your house.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I watched that Dragons game. I was cheering for the Dragons because, well, one, they were playing against the Ospreys, and that's my second team. Scarlets first. Whoever's playing against the Ospreys second. So, and then watching the Dragon, it was genuinely quite an interesting game. And you contrast that with what we watched on Friday. I know conditions, like we spoke about last week when we were talking about the Connacht game, conditions were always going to play a big part in it, because they do at Connacht, just because it's so exposed and it's a bloody nightmare to play there. It's like playing at Fishguard. It's you hoof the ball and poof, it's gone. So we knew that's what we were going out there against. But first half was good. Second half, not so. So let's go from the start. What were your thoughts on the game from the start, mate?
Well, I don't know how really to say this in any other way, but Connacht was literally the first game that I honestly thought we never had a chance of winning. I mean, there were some inconsistencies with the ref. The yellow that should have been red. The penalty try. If you watch the line out, you can clearly see they are backlifter covering in front, which the ref picked up earlier in the game, but he didn't at that point. But we sat here talking about refs, and we shouldn't be. They should don't get me wrong. If there's a contentious issue, in one game over the whole round, then fair enough. But to be talking about it almost every game is getting a bit much.
And I think you have to question yourself on that. About are we just moaning about refs? And then you watch it again. And I've got Ospreys friends that were saying you were stitched up there, and Cardiff friends going, that you had 2 tries given that weren't tries, and you had a guy ramming his head into the ground. How is that the same as somebody being offside? It doesn't. That balance isn't there. So I know. We have not had the rub of any ref at all this season, and I don't know how you fix that. I know how you fix a poor line out. You go back, you work on it, and you go, right, this is what we're going to do. You change a few things, you bring people in, you get the hooker throw in. There's a solution to that. There's a solution to your scrum not working well. There's a solution to not defending a high ball. There is no solution to defending. That guy got pile drived when we were defending on our own line, and we'd actually held them out for 3 or 4 minutes, and they were looking desperate. And he lifted him. All right, the guy inside him. It was a bit of help. Yeah, he stood up, but he still had hold of his neck, which he shouldn't have. And he held his head and pulled him into the ground. Now,
he turned him upside down, and he made sure he stayed that way.
Yeah. Now, how do you coach against that? That's not something that should affect that should negatively affect the outcome of the game. Do you know what I mean? You should be able to go, right, okay, that's a red card, you're gone. Yeah. And you could see it in the players kind of looking at the ref and going like, well, how is that? How is that only a yellow? What is a red card? If that's only a yellow, do I get to just stick a couple of punches on the nose and just, we'll see it. Is that a red? Do I get to stick a boot in the stomach and when he's on the floor, see if that's a red? What does it take to
if I do like the 1 inch Bruce Lee punch, is that okay? Because it was close to the face.
Yeah, exactly. You just, I thought on the whole, the ref was okay. He consistently missed Connacht sealing off on the floor. At one point, they literally had a player, right, went over the top of the ball and sealed off, but a player came in behind him and went underneath him, so he had one leg over the top of his shoulder, and he was on his elbows.
Yeah, I know you're on. I can remember seeing that.
And you're just like, how was that not sealed? How are you? I go back to it, and you go, how are you meant to coach against that? If that's within the rules, then there should be a way of accessing that ball. Do you know what I mean? And I know it gets really frustrating because I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, are we just moaning about referees? And we're not. We're for me, I'm complaining about stuff because it's inconsistent. If you look on social media, Fafita and Lousy have both commented on.
Oh, they were both going, weren't they?
Yeah, and you're like, if that was me, I'd have been gone. And you have to think, if that was the other way around, probably would have been a red. So.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It is good to see players talking like that, but at the same time, they might want to be careful. Because did you see, was it the Bulls chairman or something? He put something up on Twitter as well, didn't he?
No, I didn't see that. What was that?
He called the URC an absolute joke because of Ulster and Glasgow pulled out of the game. Said, what sort of joke league is this or something? Just give us the points. And there's like hashtag Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. He deleted it, obviously, but he really went to town, like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what happened. Well, they said it was gastroenteritis and it's like half the team are out. So if it's dodgy water out there, it's dodgy water. But yeah, I think if he's going to complain about that as a chairman, it's probably the wrong thing to do. But as a player, if that
the wrong platform to put it on.
Yeah, and with a player, you want that from a player. You want that player getting wound up and getting. You could see they wanted to be there, and that's the thing that kind of is disappointing for me more than anything. I think the players. I've not seen any. I've seen one or two, but they were Osprey supporters, questioning the commitment of the players. I think if anything, that they were going at it too much. They were trying to throw offloads with it. There was just no offload there. They were getting desperate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they were trying too hard. I mean, I do have to give a special mention to him because he's come here at short notice, Dan Thomas, and he did try his socks off, but I think he went a little bit too much. He was too emotional. He just didn't seem to get on the right side of the ref, and I don't know if that's a difference from him playing in the Gallagher Premiership. The reffing standards there to over a year. But there's a potential to look at there because I think they must have pinged him for like 5 or 6 penalties, which is unreal. I mean, overall, even including those penalties, he had a good game.
Yeah, I thought he was really good as well. I thought some of his tackling was superb. And rumour has it, he's a local boy. He came up through Scarlets Academy, and
is that try that?
You hear that now?
You're back.
Okay, I'll just edit that bit out. It's weird. I got a little.
You just disappeared like 30 seconds.
How bizarre. Yeah. So like Scarlet's Academy like to do. You look at Josh Adams. They come up through Academy and they show a bit of promise, and then we cut them. We send them away to an English team, and they play really well in an English team for 4 or 5 years, and then they don't want to come home. And I'm surprised. The rumor is that he wants to come home now, that he wants to come back because he's got a family farm or something, isn't he?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, in all fairness, he has spent quite a few years away, and it would be nice having him back. I mean, I think he's seriously unlucky not to have picked up a cap over the years. I mean, probably next to no chance of it happening now. But he still is a very strong player. He has played in big matches with Bristol, and he has performed in those big games as well. It's just finding a place to really fit him in if he did come back. I know obviously we got all the injuries at the minute, but say we had 6 of our frontline back row was fit, then I struggle to see where he fits in.
Well, I would say that you've got people like Dan Davis just seems to be constantly injured. I can't remember the last time Dan Davis actually played a game, and then you've got Shingler that's probably near the end of his career, and then you've got
he's been near the end for about 5 years, haven't he?
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got Blade Thompson that again is nearing the end of his playing career. So I think to have somebody like Dan Thomas come in that's got maybe 4 or 5 seasons left in him easy gives us, between him and McLeod, when they said he was coming back, I thought, that perfect combination for me is Dan Thomas with McLeod, and I thought that's going to work really well, and it did. It did, particularly in that first half. They didn't look like scoring anything other than that charge down kick, and even that they didn't score because they didn't touch the bloody ball down. So,
no,
it's. I think that makes a really good, strong pair of flankers. And if there's any way that we can keep him here, I think we should be doing it. That's my take on it anyway. But do you reckon he's 2 weeks and then he's going back?
I think that's going to be the case. It really depends on our injury numbers and where we actually see the likes of Shingler and Thompson, and even, like you said, Dan Davis, and even Carwyn Tuapolotu to a certain extent. If these boys are, constantly picking up niggles, then shouldn't we get someone who, like don't get me wrong, anyone can get injured at any point and be out for a long time. But someone who has gone at least a full season, 2 full seasons without picking up anything more than a week or 2.
I think so. I saw Tuapolotu on Saturday, and he looks massive. He just looks. He looks like, while he's been out, he looks like he's put on bulk. He looks like he's made of cement now, or something like that. He just looks.
Yeah, I saw him a few weeks ago, and he looked like a pillar. He in the Oil for Wales Bloody Business Club. He looked like he was one of the pillars of the door. He was just there.
Yeah, and he's still a young player. Whereas I think the other guys that we're talking about are probably end of career. Whereas, but you've got Josh McLeod probably in his prime, really. If he hadn't have picked up his injuries. Yeah. So I can see him I can see him coming for a while, going back to Bristol, and then coming back to us permanent over summer. I think that's probably the way it'll happen. But yeah.
You think we're going to let him go for the autumn internationals while we haven't got any games, so we don't have to pay him for 3 weeks and then bring him back?
Well, no, I think that's probably why he's here for 2 weeks, to cover the red and yellow, the red cards for Fifita and Lousy, because otherwise they would have covered 6. And I think, Yeah, I think he'll go back to Bristol. He'll play the rest of the season at Bristol, and then he'll come back over the summer, and I think he'll be home for good. Because did you see that years and years ago now, he did an interview with Jonathan Davis on the Jonathan Show, and
I haven't seen it.
So it's all in Welsh, so the subtitles just make it even funnier. And there's this thing about so Nigel Owens is on there, and they're talking away, and then Sarah Elgin-Rees goes, "So I know you've got some good news, and share your good news with us about a special little lady in your life." And he goes, "What, my new heifer?" Yeah, I got this really good new heifer, and she's go, no, your news. And then Nigel Owens is going like, "Oh, what type is she then? Tell me about it." So they're having this whole conversation about his cows and his herds, and then he goes, "I thought you got engaged." "Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I got engaged a couple of weeks ago." So, and then they go, "Well, why don't you tell us about that? What, the herd or the engagement? I'm confused." So he's, I think he's a proper West Wales kind of a guy, and I think he'd be happier coming home. Do you know what I mean? And being a bit of a bigger fish in a smaller pond sort of a thing. You can get lost at Bristol with, various international players coming in and out and swimming around and what have you. Whereas I think he'd be a bit more appreciated back home. So that's my take on it anyway. I think he'd be a really good fit for us. And like I said last week, I think Chunza would make my pack then. If Chunza come back over the summer, that would pretty much melt the pack for me.
So that's your wish list for Christmas and birthdays to the end of time.
Dear Santa, what I would like for Christmas is, but yeah, I just think that's where we need to look at. But going back to the game, right? I think the one player that we really, really missed in that game is Scott Williams, and I know he's coming up to end of career sort of a thing. I just think he has a calming effect on players and a bit of a, let's put a foot on the ball. Let's stop messing around for a second now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas on Friday, it felt like when we hit the panic button, we just went into full on meltdown, like we used to under Delaney.
Yeah.
And it was like, right, let's see how far we can cock this up in the next 5 minutes. And I think Scott Williams having him there just kind of slows it down and goes, right, now let's stop the silly passes, boys. Let's just take it in contact. Because Connacht never created much unless we gave them the ball, unless we try and throw a pass at the back and knock it on or something stupid like that. And that's where they got their tries from. It wasn't from creating particularly strong periods of pressure. It's from our mistakes, and we made a lot.
No, I agree with you with Scott. He does have that presence about him. I know he has captained us on several occasions in the past. I mean, but barring Steph Evans try, I thought our midfield was pretty anonymous for, majority of the game. I didn't see much, even just one-up hitting from either Foxy or even Steph Evans trying to jink around many people. So yeah, I think having either Scott's calmness, or you could even say having Johnny Williams to really just take our ball and just run through people. Because, he done that last season against Connacht when he came on I think it was either halftime or just after.
Yeah, it's just after halftime, wasn't it?
That's all he did. They give him ball and he just ran at people, and that's all he did, and it galvanized everybody.
Well, he's a big, strong boy. It's like having a second row inside centre running at you. And if you're an inside centre and you've got somebody like that coming at you full pelt, at some point he's going to go through you, and you're just constantly calling people in to help support you. And I think that's we're just missing. I know we got, was it 18 players out on Friday? We had, I think
God
it was
knows,
18.
just too many now.
Yeah, I think we've got a longer injury list than we've got a fit list at the minute. If you add Fafita and Lousy to the not available list, if you like, and Halfpenny just before kickoff as well. So, what did you hear about Halfpenny? What was your little?
I heard he had a little tightness in his hamstring in the captain's run on Thursday morning.
Right. And did
And
you
that's
hear?
Why, what?
Did you hear that the WIU had made the decision for him to?
Really?
Apparently, that's just what I heard, but I heard it of 3 different people that that wasn't.
Are they reliable?
2 on Twitter, 1 on Facebook, different people. Yeah. So they might just be all reading the same thing, but do you know what I mean? I can see the WIU doing that, especially at the minute, where if they lost Halfpenny at the minute, who do you put in at fullback against the All Blacks? Do you know what I mean? So if I was
that's a simple solution, isn't it? You either put Reece Armit in there, or you give Priestland the ball, because he's on fire. That's a simple solution for Wales.
Yeah, he's on fire at 10, not at 15. You wouldn't put Priestland at 15.
Oh, then stick Anscombe there and have bloody Priestland at 10.
I just think it creates so many issues if Halfpenny isn't there, and I think that's why he was pulled. I think it probably was. There was an element of that, and there was a combination of it. There was a conversation between Scarlets and WIU, and they said, look, we need him next week, and we pay his wages. So, yeah, and I think that as a Scarlet supporter is pretty hard to take, because Tom Rogers is injured.
I'm not going to say that one player would have changed the result, but having Halfpenny, it might have saved that final try.
But I just think it at the minute it just feels all very down in the squad, and like I say, I was there on Saturday morning. I was at the park on Saturday morning, and you could just feel there was an air of nobody even mentioned the game. Yeah, normally it's come on, let's be positive. We got to kind of we've got to find a way through this. This would be good. Don't worry. And on Saturday it was just, oh, God. Well, we won't talk about that. Do you know what I mean? And that's really hard to dig yourself out of. So, but I think there is a way out of it. I have a plan. I genuinely do. I have a plan. I think
you've got a plan.
I've got a plan, and it's about time that people in high places started listening to me, because 9 times out of 10, what I say and people think I'm being ridiculous turns out to be quite true. And I predicted a couple of draws. So I predicted our draw against the Ospreys, not on here, but I was talking to a mate, and I said, I just think it's going to be too close to call.
So you predicted a draw from one of several predictions that you made.
So I predicted 24 different options. No, I did. I said I thought it was going to be too close to call, and I said I wouldn't be at all surprised if it becomes a 10-all draw or something like that. And then we drew, and I'm like, I know, right? It was like 23-all or something like that, wasn't it? And then I predicted the Ospreys draw against the Stormers as well. And I'm like, oh, I should start putting money on this. I mean, all the games I've gotten wrong I would have lost anything. But yeah, I just anyway. So my plan is that Leinster aren't going to send a very strong team. Yeah. So, and I think we've got this week to kind of not knuckle down, I don't think they need to do a lot of work on skills. Maybe line out, yeah, but I think what they need to work on this week is doing the unexpected. Because what I've noticed, so Zebra ran Leinster really, really close, and if they'd held on for those last 10 minutes, they would have won. You know, they had a couple of decisions go against them, and they just kind of panicked. Who else was it? Was it Benetton? A couple of people have run Leinster really, really close this year, and they're not as dominant as they have been in the past, but they're still eking out a win. And they're almost the other side of the coin to us, where we could quite easily be, you know, that could quite easily have been our first defeat on Friday, you know, whereas they've kind of had some really close games and come out on top. We've had some really close games and come out underneath. So I don't think that they're going to be bringing a particularly strong squad. I think that they're going to be almost being a bit complacent. And I think if we kind of change that game up, just change the way we're playing in the sense of lots of tap penalties, lots of quick lineouts. Do you know what I mean? Let's do the unexpected. Let's be the pain in the backside, because they don't like it if it's not structured and it's like scrum, ruck. Let's have another scrum, line out. That's how they play. And they don't like it when you kind of mess around with the format of the game. So I think there's that element. And then I think there's a supporters element where we really, really need to get behind the boys and turn up in big numbers on Friday and just scream the house down every time Leinster get the ball. Just let them know that we don't like them very much and go from there. That's my big plan for Friday. That's how we turn it around. What do you think?
I mean, I can't see Leinster bringing a particularly weakened squad, barring the 300 that got called up to the Island squad. But no, I've had a crack at looking at their squad selections and seeing some of the boys who I'm expected to play, and you know they've got Rowan Kelleher as a hooker, and I think he's going to be starting. They've got this young kid John McKee who's basically taking his place, as far as I can tell from the squad selections, and they've got another couple.
I think Keller is injured. That's why. I think they said
he's looked impressive, Mike.
What, the young kid?
Yeah, the tidbits I've seen of him, he's very much in the mold of Ken Owens. He just takes on everything.
Right.
And they've got a few young boys in the back as well. Turner, Russell, and O'Reilly. Now O'Reilly's only played the one game, I think, but you know they're fast boys and they look pretty hot on their heels. Like they seem to know what they want to do, especially when the play breaks up. So I'm not sure how much of an open game would help us when I know it's the kids who want to play that type of rugby that's coming over. It's not the 23 plus boys that have been drilled into them. You play this way.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that those pesky kids may well ruin my master plan.
Scooby-Doo style.
I would have got away with it if it hadn't been for those pesky kids. But
basically, yeah.
I still think we need to, even from a season-long point of view, this is our last game now for a month, isn't it? I think the next game is
South Africa to next.
Yeah. So we're not going to see those boys, and those boys aren't going to see us for at least 6 weeks, 7 weeks, possibly. So that's why I just think we need.
Let me go through my book. I have got them in here somewhere.
Well, I went through.
I like my little book. Our next home game is on after this week, and our next league home game is New Year's Day.
That's when our next league home game is.
Yeah, wow. New Year's Day against Dragons.
So obviously we got European Cup matches, but yeah, that's That's a long time away, isn't it? That's the whole of November and December without a home league game. Wow. But then we've had 5 so far, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't like the setup this season.
Does it mess with your OCD and now home away, home away, home away, home away? That's how it should be.
No, not just that. It makes going to the games feel like a bit of a chore when you're doing it so often. Because I mean, I know other people would have it different because you can have a day out, but I'm going with at least 3 of my kids. So if I'm taking them, 2 or 3 weeks out of 4, it's like, Jesus Christ, have I got to do this again?
You're gonna get them on the pitch, man, and let them have a run around. I think that would be a good way of introducing them to the game and a good way of kind of disrupting the opposition. And I think that's the key now, is disrupting the opposition. But
I'll be honest, if I think I stick my 6-year-old, because she loves playing at the minute, she could take a ball and she could get through them because no one could get low enough to grab her.
I tackle her. So one of the things that I saw on social media after last, and this has been building now probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, is there seems to be a hardcore of supporters who just want to get rid of Dwayne, and I just can't see that. 1, I can't see it happening. 2, I can't see it helping, and 3, I think it's just the wrong thing to do. Do you know what I mean? What's your call on it? What do you reckon on it?
I mean, I agree with you entirely. I mean, people need to remember this is rugby. It's not football. We don't get rid of managers or head coaches on a whim. And the board have publicly backed Dwayne repeatedly, and things people need to take into consideration. Yeah, I know we voluntarily got rid of Hugh Hogan and brought in Gareth Williams, but we've also lost Guy Flanagan and we haven't replaced him yet. I mean, there was a replacement lined up apparently, but for whatever reason they pulled out. So we are still running this season 1 coach down. And it is the attack coach that is missing, which, our attack hasn't been firing. So maybe, that we can point to that. I mean, if you look at what the Flanagan's doing with the Dragons, with their attack at the minute, you can see there's been a bit of an impact and change there. So for people to be saying Dwayne needs to go is ridiculous. I mean, Dwayne's not the one on the pitch performing poorly.
Yeah, and I think I know we say it's the attack that's not working. I think there's lots of little bits that are not working all over the place that kind of go to form bits of the jigsaw that are just not working. But I think it will come. I think we will hit a point where those offloads start to stick and the structure starts to build a little bit more. I think confidence has got so much to do with the way we play our game. And I think getting rid of your head coach is just, that doesn't do much for confidence. Do you know what I mean? And
no, I'm with you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think that, Dwayne made a few mistakes on the weekend, especially with, the timing of the subs. I mean, I honestly thought that, he should have probably got Hardy off at half time. I was praising him last week for starting the game awesome, and he just reverted back to type this week. And, Costello, he was still playing pretty well. And Patchell came on and kind of, as we spoke before, he kind of lulled out. And you could see in Stefan Thomas and in Harry O'Connor that those boys were dead on their feet long before they went off the pitch.
But I thought Harry O'Connor had a cracking game again.
Yeah, no doubt. Our scrum, our front row, and not just the starting front row, the replacement as well was outstanding. I mean, I got to give huge praise to Stefan Thomas. His defence on our own line, I mean, he must have been involved in about 5 or 6 tackles and rucks on the bounce, and he was still getting back up. He was still getting on the line, and he was still going. It was brilliant to watch. And like I said, with a replacement front row, it was really good to see if I can say his name, Kemsley Mathias and Will Griffith-John. Even if Will Griffith-John he has kind of faded those handlebars away into a full.
I was gutted, absolutely gutted. I mean, he obviously grew them over summer, and he'd shaved them, because that photo on the team shot is not like there's not a little bit of stubble. Do you know what I mean? He shaved those handlebars in that morning specifically for the team shot, and then he goes and grows a full beard by the time he's on the pitch. I mean, come on. And it was a big, bushy one as well. No. You remember Merv Hughes, the Australian fast bowler? It was kind of like that, only bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like squashed in. I was
bigger than his face.
Well, when I saw him named on the as a replacement, I thought, oh, here we go. We're gonna get to see the handlebars. Here we go. And he came on, and I could see the beard, and I was like, I quite let down now. That was going to cheer me up this evening, you know.
He copped out, didn't he?
It was a big disappointment, to be honest. A big disappointment. But yeah, so
that might have been a disappointment, but to see him scrummaging again and to see him scrummaging well, that was a positive, and that's one of the very few positives I've got to take from this weekend.
From that game. Yeah, and I think we've got to try to dig some positives out wherever we can at the minute, because, like I say, I think it whether we want it to or not, it affects how players play the game. Like, we had a couple of players on the bench that were not put on. What's his name? Shenton
and Eddie James.
Yeah, both on the bench, both young boys, both coming through. And I think that's probably the right decision, not to put them on that park when you're getting hammered left, right, and centre and nothing's going your way. You don't want them to have that as their first kind of senior debut. Do you know what I mean? It'll be frustrating for them, but
I mean, we could have probably pulled them on before that penalty try. You know, it might have been an idea. Might have freshened things up. Like Eddie James, he is a big boy. I'm not saying he's the same type of impact and physical player that Johnny Williams is, but he is sort of in that mould. And that is one thing I would really like to see this weekend with Leinster. Just look at your team sheet and go, you know what, you guys, you're not past it just yet, but you are aging. Let's just put some young boys on and play with a bit of flair, play with a bit of oomph. Get some really give some boys a massive boost of confidence so they go into that game all guns blazing. Like, if we could see a centre pairing of Eddie James and I want to say Joe Roberts, but I know he's injured, and Baldwin.
Yeah,
I think that would be brilliant, and seeing maybe hopefully Tuaplotu is fresh, because Callum Mahoney was dead on his feet after 25-30 minutes. Well, maybe Tuaplotu and Giannini in there. It would be just some young boys to really boost morale.
Well, when I don't know if you picked it up on the ref, Mike, but there was like a dropout from behind the goal line, or dropout 22 or whatever, and they were going, kick it to Callum Mahoney. they knew where the ball was going. They knew who to kick it to, because he was going to get that ball anyway. And it's like, right, their plan is, the Scarlets' plan is, get the ball back to Callum Mahoney. So you're just like, people know we've become too predictable. We're relying on him way too much for what we need to do. And we need to kind of share some of that work around and get some of those other boys. Somebody somewhere has got to start breaking a line the way he does. Yeah, somebody has got to start making those 5-10 meter yard gains and start doing it consistently and start fighting for those yards. And I think if we can start doing that, then that confidence will spread. And then, you've then got Callum Mahoney going like, well, hang on, that used to be my job. Where's the ball? Let me have the ball. Come on, I want it. Do you know what I mean? And you start.
Yeah, I don't even think it needs to be someone making those few yards. I just think we need to change things up, because, like you said, we are too predictable. We know where the ball is going. Maybe have Callum Mahoney, shift a second pass out, or have him as a dummy runner, because they knew the ball was going to him. the commentators knew the ball was going to him. They were like, where is he? Where is he on the field? Oh, it's going to the winger. No, Callum Mafoney's there. He's getting the ball. Watch now.
Yeah.
And it was too true. I mean, what made us so great a few years ago under Pivac and the beginning under Moore was that unpredictability, how we would give it to everyone and everyone would run.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we haven't seen this season as of yet. We haven't seen, I don't think I've seen any proper strike plays come off. And, you don't need buckets and buckets full of strike plays. You just need 2 or 3 with different options within those.
Yeah.
So, if the first player doesn't bite, it goes on to the next one. You set it up in a way that players can remember where they need to be. And if the man before you goes through it, follow. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. As I say, it's been frustrating at times when we have made a break and that player isn't there on the shoulder to offload to. And I think those breaks have got less and less and less. And now we're in a bit where we're going, so now we're not even making breaks. And I do genuinely just think so much of that is down to confidence. And you could see where on Steph's try, with Johnny McNichol kind of does that little dummy flip out the back sort of a thing. Yeah. I go, all right, let's, there's a fair bit of confidence there to not just a dummy pass, but a dummy flip out the back. And then he's around, the player, draw the fullback and in, and it's a nice, simple, straightforward try. So I think it's just little bits like that somebody, once it starts and it starts to build, I think it'll build really, really quickly. That's what we said last week. If we can back up that zebra win with another win against Connacht, I think it would have been, the start of the corner has been turned sort of a thing. I just think we're now in that bit where we go Leinster, Stormers, Lions, I think it is, European Cup. It's a bit of a hard slog, and you don't want to be fighting through that hard slog. You want to be, on a bit of a wave of confidence going there. Having said that, I think maybe 2 weeks in South Africa might not be a bad thing, away from everything.
No, it might not be. And I mean, like you said at the beginning, it is a long old season. We have got 12 games left. And even if you take out Leinster, Stormers, Lions, we still got 9 more games. And, if you pick up even 6 wins out of that, chances are you're going to be pushing for top half of the table. So it's not all dead and buried. I mean, I think there probably should be a bit of emphasis to use South Africa tour as not so much, training or development, but just as a sort of platform and really target getting some good results in the European Cup games and then on to our festive derbies. I think that would probably be a good way to try and remove the negativity and go, look, this is our plan for this block of games. These are the ones we're targeting. We just want you to stick to your individual plans for these 2 games and just you play your best rugby.
So let's make a couple of predictions for the Leinster game then. Now we said before we came on here that we were going to try and be positive. So how positive can we be about result against Leinster?
Oh, we're going to win it.
You're going to put your kids on. Of the week. Well, I just hope I think we'll give them a bloody nose. I really do. I think I genuinely have this deluded belief, I think it must be, that it's there within us. And I say we haven't been that far away, apart from that Connacht game, apart from the second half of the Connacht game, we have not been that far away from every single game that we played in. And as good as that Leinster performance was against Munster on the weekend, 43,000 in that stadium for a game. There are international crowds that are smaller. But I think it'd be a bit of a shock for them coming off that game. And that's probably the first time
5,000 in Parc Y Scarlets.
Yeah. But coming off that game and coming into a side that they think is not on the up, a side that's a bit down, I just think it's got one of those kind of boys' own stories written all over it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's this could, somebody's gonna put their hand up and have an outstanding game. Somebody's going to put their marker down. There's going to be a couple of dodgy decisions. Something's going to go our way, and then there's going to be a last-minute kick. And I can genuinely see us winning this game. I genuinely can. And I'm going to be there as well. I will be there. Honest, I promise this time. So, yeah, I'm going to say we're going to win by a last-minute kick is what I'm going to do. And me and my last minute kick.
There is no belief in you at all, is there?
No, I just think we're gonna eke out a game. It's gonna be one of those things where things just start going right. There'll be a dodgy referee decision that goes the right way, that as in our way, and we'll just be sitting there going, do you know what? I don't care. With 3 minutes to go or 2 minutes to go. There's going to be a penalty on halfway, and Patch is going to step up and just whack it over, and it'll be 21-19 or something dumb like that. So that's my prediction.
I don't think we should be, predicting scores anymore. I think it's really unfair for us to have to predict scores. This is Monday night. We've got no inclination of what the side is going to be. They haven't even had the weekly press conferences, so we can't even take anything from that. So I think it is really unfair on us to predict scores. But I'm going to say I'll go 28-0. Is it? That sound good? No, that's a little bit ridiculous. No, 24-22, and it'll only be a one-score game because they'll score in the last minute. Go on, we'll have a nice, comfortable 9-point lead going into the 79th minute, and then they'll go over.
How many yellow cards? How many yellows? How many reds?
How many minutes in the game? 80 or? No, there's always going to be at least 1 or 2 yellows. I would just hope that it's not for us.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. The dodgy ref this week, I don't even know who the ref is, but he's going to go, all right, you've had your fair share of cards and iffy decisions so far this year, and at least 3 yellow cards for Leinster, preferably all at the same time, and we might stick a few points on them. But yeah, at
all
least
on 69-59.
Yeah.
Have them.
Right. Moving on to it is a hard slog going through Scarlet stuff at the minute, mate. But it's coming. It's coming. I can feel the positivity coming. It's building. Look at what Dragon supporters are like at the minute. A couple of wins, and we'll be back to, oh my God, we can beat the All Blacks again. Which
but when are those couple of wins gonna happen?
Soon.
That's the question.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. I can feel it
Friday.
in the water. Yeah, Friday. Right,
If
local
I
fixing.
make it Friday, I'm going to be absolutely knackered. I got the kids' rugby training beforehand. I'm going to be limping down to Parc Y Scarlets together.
I wouldn't do that, mate. They'll put you on a sub at second half if you're walking around with a limp. He must be one of ours. Right, so there were some good wins for local sides over last weekend, like some proper decent wins. The game that probably most exciting was Milford and Carmarthen Athletic. Proper boys' own stuff. Literally last kick of the game, Milford slotted over 9-8. And you're just like, was it 9-8 or 8-7? It was a really 8-7, and you're just like, wow, that's such a hard-fought game, and for Milford, Milford haven't had much of a run of luck so far this season. So for them to come away with that,
that's 2 wins on the bounce as well.
Yeah, and you just think, fair play to them. That's the sort of game. There was a video on social media. I'll see if I can share it when I post the podcast. But of the last kick, and it sounds like you're at a Wales game, just with all those supporters around you, and it was a hell of a kick as well. It wasn't like from the 22; it was at least 40, 45 meters. It was a big kick, last minute. I just like, that's what local rugby is for. You imagine watching that if you're a 5-year-old kid, and that's like, wow. Yes, that's amazing stuff. So,
I can remember watching my local team as a 16-year-old, and a similar thing happened in the semi-final of the District Cup, and the feeling behind it is unreal.
And it sticks with you, doesn't it? It sticks with you for such a long time.
I can still see that kick in my head, because it's on my favorite ground, and I can remember where I was. I can remember where I'm looking, because he was bang on the 10-meter line and the 5. And I can just remember seeing it, and you just see it sail over, and it's just like, I'm stumped for words. That's the feeling it gives you. You don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Milford would have picked up a few extra supporters over the weekend with that, because that was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, fair play to them. And Narberth is still on a good good run. Narberth had another good win against Cardiff Met, 30-10. So there's a lot of positivity around at the minute. There were some big wins for Pembrokeshire sides. Couple that probably should have done better, but yeah, there was a lot of rugby being played over the weekend. So. Yeah, which was nice.
I mean, there was only the one game that was postponed, which was Fishguard, and apparently a load of their boys come down with COVID or something. So
yeah, I couldn't work out what it was. I didn't see anything on social media, and they're usually
I saw a post from Mumbles saying that it was called off a couple of days beforehand because a load of their boys had been come down with COVID and couldn't play.
Right.
I don't know how much truth it is in that. But that's what I've seen.
Yeah, well, I said on the scoreboard on Saturday that I didn't know what it was, because I checked the Fishguard social media and I didn't see anything on there. But yeah, that would make sense. And unfortunately, it is still around, and if it gets into your side, it can wipe out half a team pretty quickly, can it? So.
Yeah, and it's not even as though it's like a little cold that you can just go, I'm just going to play through it. It's just like, well, no, I'm kind of legally not allowed to play. Like, again, a bit of trouble.
Yeah, that's nasty. Anyway, so this week's games. So there's only one league game this week, which is Narberth and Maesteg Quins. So for me, that's quite a simple one, because I just think Narberth are on a bit of a roll, and I think everything just seems to be going right for them. So I'm calling Narberth on that one.
I'm with you 100%. Narberth, they're gonna take Quins. They really are in such a promising position this season. I mean, I don't think they're quite strong enough to break that top 2, because I think it's going to be Pontypool and Neath are going to lock down that top 2.
Yeah,
but I honestly think that they are, and that result down in Bargoed against Bargoed 28-25, I think the line is so tight at the minute between those two that Narberth could potentially hit that 3rd spot, and I think that would be a massive improvement. And like we've said, with the new promotion to the Premiership being a 14-man team from next season, next year we can see Narberth being crowned championship winners, which would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's, they've been working at this for, at least the last, 5-6 years of really building a secure squad. and building a comfortable squad. And I think that they're starting to see the benefits of it now. There's a lot of players there that have been there a while. There's a lot of players there that have kind of developed within the system. It's a difficult place to persuade people to transfer into. Do you know what I mean? If you're one of the Swansea teams, you can probably ping pong around 3 or 4 different teams at that kind of level. Same if you're in kind of Cardiff or Valleys, you're quite close. There isn't a lot of teams of Narberth standard close by, So I think the stuff that they're doing is working really, really well. And fingers crossed, I can see them coming away with a handsome win on Saturday. So then we go into the cup matches. So this is where it gets interesting, because half of these teams, I'm sitting there and I'm going, I've not got the scoobiest what these boys are like, because we don't play them every week, so I don't pay any attention. So in the Division 1 Cup, Connacht are at home to Velin-Foyle. So you probably know more about Velin-Foyle than me. What are they playing like this year?
They're pretty well. I mean, we've seen a couple of the results against, Connacht and against Aber. They picked up 2 draws, and they've been looking fairly strong. So I mean, I'm always going to back Connacht, because I think they've got a real good opportunity this season to maybe eke out promotion. So Velin-Foyle, they are up there, but I think Connacht should just be too strong. I hope.
Connacht like a good cup run. They just seem to put cup runs together, and they do enjoy a good cup run. So this might well be their cup run for this year. So I'm going Connacht as well on that one.
Yeah. One thing I have got to say is I do not have the foggiest idea how this cup is going to work after these 2 stages, because I'm counting the number of groups that they got, and it's like 12 or 14. It's like, well, how are you going into a next round? Are you doing the winners of the group and then however many else you need to fill their places? Or I just don't know how it's working. So I don't know which teams are actually fighting for anything.
I think we leave that one for a Christmas special. I think we'll wait till they tell us this is what's going to happen, and then we'll go, yeah, we thought it was. I think that's the way to do that one, mate. I haven't got a clue either. I just, it is what it is. They play the games.
It don't make sense. It don't make sense. If it was a multiple of 8, then you'd be like, oh yeah, I can see what they're doing, yeah, but no.
But anyway, next game is Pembroke away in Gosainen. Pembroke just can't seem to buy a win at the minute, so and that's a tough game going away to Gosainen. So I'm calling that Gosainen.
I mean, I'm with you as well. I mean, they genuinely can't buy a win. It is a struggle. It is interesting because while the seniors are going to play Gosainen down their patch in the cup, the youth are hosting Gosainen in the. Let me get this right. Oh, where is it? I've lost it now. In the youth cup.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, but it's one of those games, isn't it, that just kind of you'd like to say, cup match, something might happen. I just can't see it happening for them at the minute. And I'd say the same for Whitland. They got Newcastle ending.
2 weeks on a bounce.
Yeah, and I just can't. Newcastle are on such a high at the minute, and Whitland just seem to be running with concrete boots. So same again. And it's the same as Pembroke. It's they just can't buy a win. But
I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that it was the Youth Cup week this weekend, I would have said just field off your youth team and the seniors, see how they do. But I know that unfortunately that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, so Division 2 then, we've got Milford are at home against Ponteberem. So I've got Milford on that one because it's home. Pontevedra not having a great season.
Yeah, 2 on the bounce as well. It's got to be a nice, easy win for me. Well, not nice and easy, but it's got to be, hopefully, maybe a teeny, tiny margin.
Let's just hope it's a win. And then Tenby, Pontevedra, and Fishguard, Bury Port. So I've gone in the Division 2 Cup. I've gone for 3 Pembrokeshire wins. I've gone for Tenby to beat Pontevedra and Fishguard to beat Bury Port. What's I can see you looking at me about Bury Port.
No, I'm looking at you about both of them because both of them have been playing. Pontevedra and Bury Port are 2 very strong teams.
Pish.
I think Tenby got the best chance of doing it. Mm-hmm. I'd say eat my hat, but I'll eat my socks if I'm wrong. I can't see Fishguard pulling it out over Bury Port. I just can't. And Tenby, I was really gutted to see Tenby just narrowly losing to Christ this weekend. But I'm gutted to say I'm going against them this week.
Well, we'll differ on that one then. So our favourite game of every set of fixtures, St David's are at home to Nantymoyle. So I'm going to tag Nantymoyle in the post when we put it out on this anyway, just to let them know what the rules are. And the rules are that when you go to St David's, you need to have fancy dress after the game because those are the rules. And there is no other rule other than that is the rule. So and we'll
try and get it out before their Tuesday night training.
Yeah, so that they can have a good conversation. They can go away. They can come back on the Thursday. They can compare outfits. They can make sure the theme kind of works. Have a quick check of the weather. You don't want to be going Hawaiian if it's going to be hammering it down. So you've got to have a consideration for what's happening. But what I will say to Nantymoyle, go on.
It's Halloween week. There's only one fancy dress option.
Of course. How can I miss that one? Yeah, so it's got to be a Halloween fancy dress. Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, on the rugby front, I've said that Nantymoyle are probably going to win.
More than probably, I think. Without being disrespectful to St David's, I think Nantymoyle are they're going away with the spoils, unfortunately.
But, the important thing is that fancy dress needs to be done when in St David's. And they need to plan for a long night in the clubhouse as well, because that's how St David's away games usually go.
Well, what they need to do is they need to bring 2 bus drivers, one sober and one to go out like.
And one to play the piano. So next game is Pembroke Quins at home against Tonmauer. I think that's a tough game for the Quins, and they lost away at Neyland last Saturday. But I think Tonmauer are just I've gone for the Quins.
Goodbye.
Because I always do, but I guess it's going to be a really, really tough game. Really, really tough game.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's like you said, it's really hard to call because even if you try to look at the tables and results from the other leagues, we're still so early in the season to really tell who's going to do what.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to pick one out. But no, I'm hoping going for a home win as well.
Yeah. So then we've got Neyland away in Cefneithin. Now I've broken ranks on this one. I've gone Cefneithin for that. You've got it all.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm trying. I've looked at my my picks over the last few weeks, and I realize my percentage has been pretty low. I think I've only hit over 80% once, which has disappointed me. So I've started thinking a bit more with my head.
Started thinking, I'm making this stuff up as I'm going, and you've got like 5 weeks worth of form. You've got like videos.
I've actually got 8 weeks. I only note 5 weeks on the current.
Oh my God. Right. Okay then. So Lamb at home to Carmarthen. Who've you gone on that one?
What have we got?
Larn are at home
Ah,
to Carmarthen.
Larn.
Yeah, I've gone Larn as well.
Yeah.
They're just on a bit of a run of form, aren't they? So, and the same goes for Haverfordwest. They've hit a bit of a run of form of late. They're away in Llangadog. So I've gone Haverfordwest, even though it's away, and I don't know who Llangadog are. I don't know what their form is. I don't know what their last 5-week win ratio has been, but I'm going to go with
I
Haverfordwest.
don't know what the other team's bloody wins are like. I just know I was. Just because I can flick through my book and I can see the last few fixtures. It's easy to do once you've got it on paper.
That's going to be a big book, man. Come the end of the season, that's going to be like the old yellow pages, isn't it?
It's not too bad. I mean, there's only what, like 20 odd fixtures. You know, that's only that's only 40 odd pages for me, really. If I can squiggle it nice and small.
Right, the hell, one. Okay, so are you going Haverfordwest as well? Are you?
Yeah, I think that's a simple one. I do think Haverfordwest are finally back to where they were last season.
Okay, so Aberaeron at home to Swansea Uplands. I've gone Aberaeron on that just because I don't like Swansea Uplands.
I've gone Aberaeron, but I've got to make a bit of a mention for Swansea Uplands because I done my level 1 coaching with someone from there not so long ago. And apparently they've had an old patron pass away and left them over £1 million. So
wow.
There's a lot of rules and stipulations to how they can use the money.
Yeah.
But apparently there's obviously a lot of money being spent on certain things at that club, and they are pushing forward. And if you look at the league results, I think they're 4 from 4 sitting top of their division. So it is a tough game, but I'm hoping that the travelling factor helps Aberaeron for the win.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story about my visits to the Swansea Uplands another time when we got a bit more time.
Not allowed on the podcast.
Not on the telly. St Clair's away in Llandilo. St Clair's just cannot seem to lose at the minute. They just, they're on a top of the table, running quite nice, I think. So I'll pick St Clair's. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I picked them out at the start of the season to be very, very strong, and they've proved true to form. They are going well.
And final game then is Cardigan away in Furness. Now I don't know what Furness are like, but I've seen Cardigan's results so far this year, and I think if Cardigan were playing the Teletubbies second 15, they'd probably struggle this year. So I've gone for Furness on that one.
I've gone for Cardigan just for the sake of it. I mean,
so you don't know either. So you flipped the coin and gone the other way.
I don't know much about Furness. I mean, my girls play for Stradi Saucepans and they train on Furness's pitch, but I've got no idea what their seniors are like or what any of their setup is like, if I'm totally honest with you. I know there's no boots in the clubhouse, but that's obviously about as far as it
goes. Fantastic. Right, well, Matt, over the next couple of weeks, mate, we've got international break and all of that, so we'll have a chance to look at some of the local games a bit more and a look at our local league predictor, compare my predictions against yours. So that's coming up over the next couple of weeks. And until then, my friend, enjoy your rugby, and I shall catch up with you again next week. I'll probably catch up with you on Friday night, if you're there.
I will be there, but like I said, I'll be dragging a few kids and I'll be limping along. So, you'll notice me from a few miles out.
All the best, my friend. I see you on Friday.
And to you.
Cheers, mate. Ta-da. So, as always, we ran out of time, and there were a couple of things that Martin gave me a telling off for forgetting to talk about during the podcast. So, first off, to add to fixtures for this week on Wednesday 26th, Pembroke College are at home against Whitchurch High School. So we'll try and post the details of that on the Facebook page when we know where that one's being played. And also this weekend is a big start to the Youth Cup Bowl and Plate competitions, so which we briefly spoke about in the main pod. So this week in the Under-18s Youth Cup, Nant Conwy are at home against Narberth. So Narberth have got a big trip away there. Pembroke are at home against Gorsinan, like we spoke about. In the Plate, Crymych are at home against Morrison. Ruthin play Aberystwyth. So Aberystwyth have a long old trip up north in that one. In the Bowl, Haverfordwest travel to Bangor. Whitland are travelling to Cwmgors. Tenby are away in Fairwater. That's going to be a massive weekend for the Tenby boys. And Langham are at home against Carmarthen Athletic. So, as always, guys, we would love to have your comments, particularly on the youth games in the coming weeks, because that is the future of our game in Pembrokeshire. So we'd love to hear and have some match reports on the youth games. And as always, your comments are always very welcome. So do get in touch either through our Facebook page or by email or by Twitter. We'd love to have you a part of the show. Enjoy your rugby, guys. We'll chat again next week. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters PEMS team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet PEMS, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.